So this nut, that's bloody hot now. I can't hold it even with me rubbery, glovey fingers. That's hot because I just used this, the DeVault XR, to remove it from the diff on the front there. I mean, normally they're done up quite tight. I mean, I've put that on myself with a long bar before now when I changed the seal previously, but this thing here, it just whisked it off. It took a while. I wouldn't say it just zoomed it off like, you know, the rattle gun was going on for a bit, but, and that's bloody hot. Yep, still hot. Right, we'll leave that there to cool down a bit. Need to get the seal out now. Let's pull that off. Got a bucket under there, but this thing, it used to just leak oil all the bloody time. I keep changing them seals. In fact, looking at that seal, it doesn't actually seem to be set in quite square. Yeah, let me just put this to one side. Put it on there a minute. So, let's get that in focus again. You can see a little bit of the seal sort of sticks out a bit. And at that angle, it definitely goes in like on the right of the picture. Because I used to put oil in this, and it used to come out just as bloody quick. And of course, it sprayed it everywhere. So, let's get some tools now and rip that old seal out. We'll have a look at that. So I took the old seal out. That's lying there. Oh, it's under the washer. Hang on. It was an old cork type one. So it had sort of disintegrated really, so no wonder it was bloody leaking. But anyway, this will have to go back in. This washer. So it just sits on the, sits in there on there like that. So I've took the bearing out now, just so the oil can drain off a bit more. I'm going to leave that now, let that drain, let it stop dripping. I'm also going to try and get the old crush washer out and have a nosy at that. Might put a new one in it. We'll see. Right, just for future reference. Right, I've got the seal in. It took a bit of doing actually trying to get it in square. It seemed to want to go in one edge. And then when you pop the opposite edge again popped out. So you're sort of chasing yourself all the way around in a circle. But you might recognise this thing here. Oh dear, excuse me. This is your steering relay bit that goes underneath the chassis to hold your steering relay. To keep it central, and it fits perfect over the top of the seal, and then with a hammer you just tapped it all the way around, and what you finished up with is an undamaged seal, and also show along the edge. You got a perfect uniform edge all the way around, which is undamaged, we know from like people want to hit them with a bloody hammer. So this is sitting flush all the way around. It's uniform, the same. Because of this, it's got a flat edge on it. Doesn't look very pretty because this is my old one anyway, like, but it was perfect for the job to hammer on the seal. I know some people will have bits of tube and stuff like that they've made, you know, to put over the edge, but I had a bit of tube, and I do still have a bit of tube, but it's a long bit of pipe. I'd have to cut a bit of pipe, so maybe for future, to save me taking this thing off of the steering relay or getting another one. But you can see now on a close-up how well that seal is actually sitting in there all the way around. I'm well happy with that. It's sat home, if you like, you know what I mean? It's not going to fall out. But one thing I have noticed is this new seal has got this rubbery lip and edge to it, and the new Flange has got a big, like, oil thrower, or whatever you want to call it, on there. So that will go on there, see. And it's got this oil thrower edge. Whereas the old one didn't have that. So it used to just leak out, you know, when the seal went underneath, and it would just throw it everywhere. I mean, that's going to do the same, but I'm assuming this is to keep all the shite out. So, you know, if you are off-roading, things like that, or grass and everything, you know, bits of grit and everything else that gets thrown up. Whereas the other one, the seal was pretty much open. It would go straight in the seal and damage it, of course, and then it wouldn't last so long. Whereas this got a bit of protection that goes around it. I don't want to push that all the way home yet because I haven't greased the, you know, the end. I want to put a bit of grease on there just to save the seal rather than pushing it through dry. So, yeah, happy with how that seal has actually sat in there. It's seated home just nicely. Just perfect. So now I've oiled up the seal itself and everything, and then pushed that home. And you can see how this shield fits just. Get a bit of light around it. There we are. Yeah, the shield just fits nicely over the end to chuck any dirt out and everything. You know, it gets splashed up. It won't go straight into where the seal sits. Good idea. Happy to see that. So we're going to get a nut on here now. I shall do it up with my rattle gun for a bit, but when it gets to sealing it, I'll use my torque wrench and just torque it up to about 250 pound. That should keep it there. Doggies are coming to say hello to me now. Hello, little dog. Hello. Yes. Yeah. All right. All right. Oh dear. Oh, get out of my face, Julia. Yeah, you can't stay here. No. Oh dear. Got another one coming now as well, look. There we are. Right. Alright, we're going to have to stop this. They've got a basket by the door to sit in. So I've been trying to get my nut on here. So that focus, there we go, we're in focus now. Yeah, but I've just spent an hour or so filing the edge on the threads there. It got damaged. I mean, the old nut looked a bit mullered inside it. I mean, that same nut has been on and off over the last 15 years that I've owned this, changing seals. I've never actually changed the flange and everything. So this time round I've changed the flange, new nut, new washer in there, and the bloody thing wouldn't screw on. The old one went on, but very difficult, so I've had to file off all the end there. I think over the years, you know, where I've been fucking bashing around with it and hitting it with a hammer and stuff like that, and I've obviously forced the old nut on there last time round because I needed the rattle gun to get it off all the way up. But after a bit of filing with some fine little files in the threads there, get it started, it's gone on nicely now. So I just need to torque that up. So what an absolute pain in the arse this has been. This replacing the seal, that was easy enough. I couldn't get the crush tube out. That just wouldn't come out. I think it needs poking out from the rear, or take the whole shaft out from the rear, but you've got to take the whole diff out. Then you want a stretcher, you know, to get it out and everything. Fucking, I'm not going down that road. So I bolted this up and I kept tightening it up like I normally do. I just give it loads of ogres, like, you know, and then fucking thing wouldn't turn, everything locked up, like the wheels wouldn't go round. So I'm thinking that's just pulled on the bearings too much, you know what I mean? Nothing's moving. So I loosen it off a bit and then jack the wheel up here, you know, jack one side up and turn it, and then it took a while for me to fucking click because I kept doing it up and then undoing it and doing it up and undoing it. But that mud shield is actually creasing itself up onto the casing, so you can't move it. If you listen quietly, you might just hear it. That's only backed off just enough for it to, you know, free off, and you can still hear it rubbing. But it's not exactly very tight. So I'm going to take it off because the nut only just finishes, you know, the tight part of the nut, you know, on here, where it's creased in. I mean, but I've already had this undone and done up again, so in effect it's not going to be locking itself, you know, the lock nut, the lock bit on it, it's not going to be locking it proper. So I might finish up just covering the whole shaft with some, you know, the threads with some lock, thread lock, Loctite, or whatever you call it. Cover it with some of that because I don't want that coming undone. But at the minute I'm just going to take it apart again to see how much and where exactly on the case in here it's you know, snagging, where it's locking itself in. Because if I do that up any tighter, it locks itself. So it's got to come off. I need to get the grinder out, I think, and just rub it around the casing. But there you go. Right. Got these two staring at me. They love sitting in the basket now. Come and wandering over when I'm laying on the floor and stick their nose in my ear or something. Wet nose in my eye, that's what I get. But this fucking thing here has been giving me some fucking jip the last couple of days. But this week, every time I'm tightening it up, everything was locking up. Nothing was moving. I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong here? So I've had this on and off, on and off, on and off. So then I'm watching videos to see exactly, you know, changing the new flange, new seal, and see exactly how to set it up. because I know normally we just whack the fucking bolt up, you know, real tight. But every time I did that, it all locked up. So I did find on there free movement with an inch-pound per square inch torque wrench, 30 to 40. It should be between 30 to 40 inch-pound, but that is without any wheels on, drive shafts and a diff in. You just set up the pinion gear to free movement of 30 to 40 pound when you're tightening it up. But that's with nothing, no other gubbins on it. So anyway, I set that up, but I set it up a lot higher to about 80. But then I checked the torque on the nut, and it was only on 22 pound, foot-pound, which is far nowhere near enough. So totally confused. I've had it off, put it back together again, fucking check, maybe, you know, something was wrong and all that, but put it all back together, took it apart again, because every time I torqued it up, it was just locking up. And you can see here around this ring, this new flange has got a mud flinger on it, or an oil flinger, whatever you want to call it, and that goes over here. And what was happening, every time I was doing the nut up, it was fucking locking itself onto here. So now, I'm just waiting for that oil to drain, because I put fresh fucking oil in it and everything. But got to leave it to drain. You can see how shiny it is on this edge, where I've been trying to turn it, forcing the wheel round to turn it. And I'm thinking the bearings are fucked. But when you look at the bearings are all right. But that was my problem. Every time it locked right up tight, it was just clamping itself up together and it wouldn't move. So there's nothing wrong with it inside, as far as I can see. So what I'm going to do is get the grinder out actually and just grind around that edge until there's a nice chamfer on it. You can see the sort of angle this has got.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
I nearly knocked the mud slinger off and was going to put it back in, or put the old flange in, but no point in that, it's already got a groove in it.
We were looking on the website and I saw this.
So once that oil stops dripping, I'm going to get the grinder on there and grind a nice 45-degree angle flange on there, and then see how we go with that in. So that's the plan.
Despite Dave's down on the Lee Francis Woody,
She's still here, bless her, and yeah. So I've had the grinder out, and where that mud slinger or mud shield goes over the front end of the casing, I've put the grinder all the way around the casing because you can see it was touching in various places. It's just a casting issue, you know, on the case itself. So it's got a nice smooth chamfered edge all the way around, and that mudslinger now is not rubbing on anything. Had me so confused. I thought everything was wrong inside. I was nearly to the point of pulling out the new seal and taking everything out again and just checking, you know, make sure everything's meshing up okay. When I did it like finger tight and everything, it was fine, you know, turning it with fingers, fine, until I did the nut up tight. Anyway, that nut is up tight now, and you can freely spin the wheel, and that is turning now. Can't hear any rubbing or anything else now on there. That's all free turning. And I did that nut up to 80 pounds, foot-pounds per square inch, and I've checked the free turn on there with me pounds per square inch.
And this to me just confirms it.
Yeah, I've done the nut up to foot pounds
There's no front, there's no play there whatsoever.
80,
Feels like 18 months old.
and the free turn, like free, you know, turning it by hand sort of thing, on inch pound is between 30 and 40, which is spot on.
Whatever it makes.
Does that? I'm happy with that. I'm just wondering how tight really should I do that nut up, because I found nothing on actually poundage on what that should be done up. I think when you originally set it up, so you set it up with the inch pound per square inch rather than the foot pound on free turn. So you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, but that's on initial setup. So when you change anything, I'm assuming you just do that nut up really tight. I know people do just wind it all the way in with a fucking rattle gun. I weren't going to do that, although I did undo it with a rattle gun. But I've changed that seal several times before now, and I've only ever gone in there, I've not even torqued it up. I've just done about 3 uggers on doing it up with a normal ratchet. You know, like one of these. And I've never had any trouble with it coming undone. You know what I mean? I've sort of wrenched it round, but this time I've done it with a torque wrench to 80 foot-pound per square inch, and that's still turning now between 30 and 40 inch pound square inch rather than square foot. So I'm happy with that. I've now got to put fresh fucking oil in it, top it up again, because that all drained out the front. That will come out, you know, when I took the flange off the front. But this is all turning, wheels turning, that's turning. I think I'll just leave it on 80 pound. I'm sure you don't need to fucking whack it right up. But if you know different, tell me.